All right, Michael Venom Page, UFC welterweight. I'll be honest, after all these years where it felt like it could happen, it couldn't happen, I wasn't convinced we were finally going to see it.
Yeah, to be fair, even you saying that, it still sounds a little weird to me. But I'm sure I'll get used to it pretty quickly, and I'm sure everybody else will too.
Talk us through how this deal came together. I'm assuming it's not the first time you spoke to the UFC about joining the company.
Yeah, again, it's always been like speculation, but I was at Bellator contractually, and it was the first time where I was clearly out of Bellator. So, having just general chit chat is very different to having an actual serious conversation about, crossing over. So, obviously, after leaving Bellator, becoming unemployed and in unemployment tour. Yeah, just obviously speaking to UFC, hearing getting their feedback, spoke to PFL as well, getting their feedback and just kind of seeing where best to land, and it was the UFC.
So, what exactly have you signed up for? How many fights are we talking?
6 fights.
Okay,
6 fights.
okay, that's quite a few. That gives you plenty of time to sort of move up the ranks, even if you are started pretty high up there with Kevin Holland, right?
Yeah, definitely. Again, I still, I think that is a statement in itself. The fact that I'm taking the likes of like a Kevin Holland first fight, when I'm not trying to waste time here. I feel like I'm a veteran in the game. I've been in the game long enough to know where I stand, and it's about going straight to the top.
Did you have any other options? Did they say, do you want to fight Kevin or do you want to fight this guy or that guy? How did it kind of come together in the end there?
Loads of names kind of were put forward, but to be fair, they were more insistent on Kevin Holland, and I don't really care as long as it was like it puts me in the mix at the top of the game and at the top of the pyramid versus at the bottom, then I was happy anyway. So yeah, for me, I always leave that down to my coaches, I leave it down to the organizers, which is now UFC, and yeah, they were happy. Both sides were happy with that, and I'm equally happy and excited for this fight.
How highly do you rate Kevin Holland? We've seen a lot of him in the last few years. He's shown a lot of versatility in how he can finish fights. We saw him tap Chiesa. We've seen him knock
Mhm.
Jacare out from lying on his back. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a dangerous guy with a lot of weapons, isn't it?
and this is my point about joining the UFC at a high level. You know what I mean? And not like I said, I think it's just a statement. I'm going against somebody, as you say, is dangerous in various areas. But I back myself, every single time I step in the cage. But yeah, I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of a lot of like people in the UFC. I'm a fan of him, but I was raised fighting my siblings, so I definitely haven't a problem fighting somebody that I appreciate.
Is it too obvious for me to say you're trying to line up a potential fight with the welterweight champion, Leon Edwards? Is that the mission statement you've got?
Yeah, but it's more so. It's not really about him as a person. Like I have no issues with him in any way, shape. Again, a fan of his kind of uprising and what he's done. I think it's more I can envision the magnitude of the fight with regards to it being two UK fighters fighting for a UFC welterweight championship, and I can see myself, or see us, trying to fill out a stadium and really really make some big noise with that fight. So I think it's more the package that I'm drawn to. So yeah, definitely see myself try like that's the goal.
Do you and Leon know each other at all? Have you kind of mixed with each other?
Yeah. Like we've been out together a couple of times, and like again, we're cool. It's not the kind of fight that is going to be based on negativity and having a crazy build up to in order to sell it. I think it's the two great athletes that after I make my statements in the UFC, it's two great athletes coming together, and it's who's the best in the UK.
In order to get to I know it's not about fighting Leon. I understand that it's about getting to the top of the division. Do you have a sort of establish the fighters you'll need to beat to get there?
I guess it varies. It just depends on the because it's a moving ship all the time.
Mm.
Like, whoever's hot at the moment, when the times comes around that you're ready to fight, and that person's just had a loss and this and that. Like, it changes the time. I just know the welterweight division across the board of mixed martial arts is always a strong division, and especially in the UFC, it's a great division to be a part of. So there's loads and loads of fights and loads of names I can mention, but let's just see where my path takes me.
We've got a UFC card this weekend, top of the bill, Sean Strickland going up against Dricus du Plessis. How do you see that one going, Mike?
It's a weird one because I think Strickland's had a hell of a year to turn around and come. Like I personally, not in a disrespectful way, but I've never really rated him in like massively. He kind of seems to have up and down fights.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, obviously he's had a great year this year, and again, Duplessis is very new. Say it's still you can tell the raw power that this guy has,
Mm.
but still relatively fresh. But he's kind of like being blown up quite quickly. It's a tough fight. I'd say I'm gonna go with the power. I think Strickland does get hits in silly places sometimes, which has obviously put him in trouble before. So I can see Duplessis at least landing one of his heavier shots, which could finish the fight.
When you look at du Plessis, what he's done in his time in the UFC, he had success elsewhere, KSW, of course, as well, and how quickly he went from people not really paying too much attention to all of a sudden he's the outright contender for the middleweight belt. Does that, in some way inspire you or at least show you how quickly you can make an impact on the UFC? And I think you probably have the advantage of you're going to go into your debut with them with already people talking about you quite a lot.
Yeah, and that's where I think it differs.
Yeah.
I've managed to generate quite a popular crowd and of supporters and haters, but they all talk, and that makes me slightly. It gives me a bigger advantage by way of like popularity, should I say, moving forward into the UFC. Whereas, like you say, he didn't. He's kind of had a crazy kind of blow up
Mm.
since joining the UFC. For me, it just turns me into a mega star, way bigger than any of the guys because of that little advantage that I've got. But regardless of, it's all about winning fights, and the reason why he's there is because he's winning fights. So if I can have as much a name or a B, even if I had a bigger name, I'm walking to the UFC. If I do not execute the way I need to execute, then it's not going to matter anyway.
Are you ready for the new haters?
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely ready for it. To be fair, I think it's nice. It's kind of nice being edged, and definitely you're gonna get. I reckon you're gonna get even crazier fans in the UFC. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of accustomed to it. So I've definitely got an advantage in that side. I don't get stressed about things like that, and I've learned very quickly from when I first started the MMA.
Sure. This weekend as well, we've also got Arnold Allen on the card taking on Mozvar Avluev. Allen looking to bounce back from that defeat to Max Holloway. Looks like a really tough fight on paper, a really tough fight. How do you think he's going to get on?
Arnold Allen all day, man. Arnold
Yeah.
Allen all day because yes, it was a tough defeat, but it was close. He kind of he stuck in there. I know technically that's a hard fight to win anyway, but he stuck in there the whole time. He toughed it out. He's a tough athlete. I've seen him since I think it was like his second fight. I remember at UCMMA. So I've watched him for a long time, and then even when he got into the UFC, he took a last minute fight and turned it around. And everyone, a lot of people seem to underestimate him, but he is an absolute talent, and I definitely see him coming back after that loss.
Knowing him the way you know him, do you think he's got a title push still in him?
100%,
Yeah.
yeah, 100% has. He definitely does. So it's like sometimes this game is a bit of luck as well, but just in terms of raw talent, 100% he can be at the top of that pyramid.
Okay. Okay. Well, we hope so. And we also hope to see you right at the top of that welterweight
Yes.
pyramid as well. Michael Venom Page, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck. Let's catch up soon,
Thank
man.
you. Nice one, man. Take care, man. See you. Thanks for having me.